All right, Simphiwe joins us now outside Nkandla. Good afternoon to you, Simphiwe. Thank you so much for joining us. I've been listening to what Zuma's son has been saying. Talk to us about what's the current situation outside Nkandla at the moment.
Unathi, thank you very much, and good afternoon to the viewers as well at home. The situation outside former President Jacob Zuma's home here in Nkandla is currently what you are seeing in your visuals. More and more members of the media have now arrived in anticipation of what is going to happen in terms of that constitutional court order that basically instructs the Police Minister Bheki Cele together with the National Police Commissioner General Nkandla to arrest the former President of the Republic of South Africa by midnight if he fails to hand himself over to law enforcement authorities. Since the early hours of the morning, we have been seeing quite a number of police vehicles making their way down the road here, basically patrolling the area. As you can see now in your visuals, that's one of the vehicles belonging to police officers. One of them has just walked out of the that minibus taxi. He's now talking to members of the MKMVA who have been monitoring the developments outside the former President Jacob Zuma's home. I see that some members of the media are now rushing towards the minibus taxi, trying to capture what is currently happening and what is being said by the police member that has just stepped out of that vehicle. We do, of course, understand that the Police Minister Bheki Cele has until midnight to effect that arrest if the former President of the Republic of South Africa, Mr. Jacob Zuma, does not in fact hand himself over to law enforcement authorities. As matters stand, there is nothing that prevents the former, or rather the Minister of Police, to actually go about conducting that arrest in conjunction, of course, with the National Police Commissioner. Members of the media are now, outside the gates trying to get a sense of what is being said by the members of the SAPS who have been, in that minibus taxi. I see now that they have entered the taxi. It would seem as though they are going to be leaving the main entrance after a brief conversation with the members of the MKMVA. And I can tell you, Unathi, that the situation here on the ground is that of the correct term that I'm trying to find is that of us being anxious as to what is going to happen, because as things stand, members of the MKMVA guarding the house of the former president have been, very adamant in saying that they will not allow anyone to get anywhere near the former president with an intention, of course, of arresting him. That's been the sentiment since the news came that the former president will have to hand himself over to law enforcement authorities. And his son that we spoke to yesterday evening, that's Edward Zuma, was very adamant in saying that they still remain resolute as the family, that the former president will not hand himself over to law enforcement authorities. 1, 2, that they will not allow anyone to get anywhere near the house of the former president. So we continue to wait outside to check the developments as, of course, the clock continues to tick for the police commissioner together with the national minister, that's Bheki Cele, to effect an arrest on former President Jacob Zuma. Unathi.
Simphiwe, that is actually, very true in terms of it is an anxious wait, because pretty much events at Nkandla have been unplanned. There doesn't seem to be a clear plan. Of course, we know that there is a legal plan, that was made by the former president and his council in those urgent applications that we saw last week, and of course at the High Court, where he is trying to stay his arrest, warrant. But is there any indication where you are at the moment that we will see the kind of crowds and the protests that we saw at the weekend?
I suppose, Unathi, what makes the situation even more difficult to predict in terms of that question is that there was an expectation that the judgment would have been handed down either yesterday or today. But seeing now, of course, that Judge Mnguni of the Pietermaritzburg High Court said he will hand down the judgment on Friday, then there is that bit of confusion from his supporters as to what is going to happen. If the judgment is handed down on Friday, does that mean that the arrest, which is meant to happen before midnight today, is suspended, or does it mean that police will have to act in any way, even regardless of that court application that has been put before the Pietermaritzburg High Court? But legal experts, of course, are saying that as things stand, the Minister of Police, Minister Bheki Cele, together with the National Police Commissioner, General Nkandla Sithole, have to indeed effect an arrest as per that constitutional court order that was granted. Unathi?
All right, Simphiwe, thank you so much for that. That's where we have to leave it for now. Of course, we will be tracking and following up with you a little bit later on. This is obviously one of our top stories here on the show today.